Blue said he was disappointed. That's a word he's used a lot, hasn't he, over recent weeks. Letting Wolves back into this as it would finish 2 apiece. This is well, I think. Sorry, let's take a look at the bottom of the table a moment.
All right, okay.
Before we go, you can see obviously Spurs sitting 11th, level on points with Brentford, 1 ahead of that West Ham. Nothing new, really.
Well, they've got Newcastle coming up. They've got a double-header semi-final against Liverpool. They're probably going to get walloped. A few things here. I feel a bit sorry for Postecoglou in the sense that I think he's going to get sacked, right? Because if you listen to and read some of the Spurs supporters, and it's all what I've sort of seen on social media the last week, Spurs fans who would turn quicker than a gallon of milk in a heatwave. Oh. I mean, seriously, you can't keep throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
They were booed off today when they...
Yeah. I get that. And I get it, right? He, for me, is imperfect. He's not the perfect manager. But what you got to understand here is, how would any other team, Liverpool, Arsenal in it, you took Gabriel and Saliba and the goalie, took Kanate and Van Dijk and the goalie, you take them out your side, what do you expect? They've got another injury, hamstring injury to Udogie today. Right? It is kind of where they is. They've got a young teenager who's a full-back they signed from Leeds, playing at centre-back. And so I'm not surprised they're dropping these points. What you've got here again, though, is Tottenham just going to be baying for blood to Daniel Levy, and we know what he'll do, right? He'll sack the manager, and then they'll go down that road again of another manager, there'll be another sacking. Let me give you an example, right? Nottingham Forest are in second place, and it won't last, but they're in second place because they've got a manager who knows what they're doing. That same manager had 19 games at Tottenham before they outed them. They don't want to give anybody a chance. They think they're bigger than their boots.
But they have given Ange a chance.
They haven't really.
They've given him 18 months, started really well.
Yes, but my point being is, how many teams are operating without the 2 best centre-halves and their goalie, and have they're arguably the best midfielder on a 7-game racism charge? It is not perfect, but at least give the guy a chance to have all his players back. That is my point. This is a club that wins diddly squat, and this is a club that continues to change manager. Now, is there better managers out there? Do you think Marco Silva or Areola are better managers? Probably. But you have to make a decision as a football club. Is this just down to the manager, or is this down to the fact we are at bare bones? And I think there is an argument to say both. If Van de Ven and Romero are fit, and Vicario and Bentancur, and they're all available, and these results continue, I think that's a fair assessment of sacking the manager. I just think at this moment in time, if you took those key players out of any other team, would that affect them? Liverpool, Arsenal, no matter who you are, and the answer for me has to be yes.
Are you sympathetic?
Yeah, a little bit sympathetic because I like some of the way they play their football, but it's a little bit too open. As we've said before, their midfield is chaotic at times. They had a great result against Man City when they had Kulusevski and Maddison in the side. He doesn't seem to find a way where he can get Maddison and Kulusevski in the same team at the moment. Maddison can be an outstanding player, but he comes off the bench far too often. Defensively, they don't make good decisions, and one of the reasons is because the centre-halves are out. Archie Gray...
They get themselves in good positions. You take a look at the points
they can't keep clean sheets.
Because there's the fear of... Because they haven't got their centre-halves in there, they haven't got the goalkeeper. Every time the ball goes back to the goalkeeper, the crowd are having a panic, and he can't make saves either. There was one that he made a save off a header when he's almost diving back into his own net. So there's lots of things that are wrong with Spurs, but it just doesn't happen with the manager. Antonio Conte, a serial winner, has been there and failed miserably. Jose Mourinho, I think, has passed his best, but he's been there, failed miserably. As the Nottingham Forest manager has been there and failed after 19 games. It's a difficult job at the moment because the fans, they don't want dull football. They don't want managers that want to be too defensive. But if they start to be too attacking, then they want that to change because they're not winning enough games.
But Kulusevski, as Robbo said, he's been their best player, right? He's a guy in the middle of the park that, when he's playing central in that 10, he drives them forward, drives into the box. This guy's form has been patchy for a while. In fact, I'll go as far to say I think his best days at Tottenham are well and truly behind him. The problem is, then if you don't want to move Kulusevski or blah blah blah, you go to the well, and you got an even bigger waste of time in Timo Werner. Yeah. What is the point? You talk about confidence or lack of it. He comes on, he can barely control the ball. He had one decent ball he put across for Solanke, but the options are not there. Look, I think ultimately what's going to happen here, as I said at the start of this particular segment, I think they will sack Postecoglou. I think it's evident it's heading that way.
If they had everybody fit, where do you think they should finish?
If they had everybody fit and these results continued, I would not have a problem with it, because I would say he hasn't learned his lessons, he's got his best players. You've got a back four, it's just getting exposed at the moment. It's so raw back there in the goal. I mean, Fraser Forster, he's 36, come on, he's not...
Yeah, but he moves well.
I just don't... I think Tottenham fans at the moment, as soon as... When things are great, they're great, and when things are bad, it's the worst thing on the planet, and they just want to keep making these changes. And I know they understand that there's more problems than just the manager, and it's Enoch, and it's Daniel Levy, and it's spend, and it's recruitment, and I get all that. But at least give this guy, him the second full season and see where you are in the summer. But I get the feeling that the Bears are not...
He also looks like a man that knows he's going to get the sack, doesn't he?
Well, he was a man that was coming on the field and couldn't wait to applaud the fans, and they were lapping it up, and yeah, there was the odd bad result, but even now, the relationship between himself and the fans, I think even he realises it's fractured. They've got Newcastle and Liverpool, as I mentioned, and I don't know what the situation with Van de Ven and Romero or anybody else coming back, but if those players don't come back soon, quite frankly, he's screwed.
Nathan?
I think those injuries have made a big difference. I think when you're seeing Van de Ven and Romero being out, Romero's very good at sort of playing out from the back and having a bit of edge. You look at Van de Ven and his ability to cover, and even just being left-footed means that they play the game in a different way down that side. And that relationship that he would have with Udogi's, obviously Udogi who's injured now, that's a good relationship. We have seen good football from them before. I think up until maybe a month to 6 weeks ago, their defensive record actually wasn't that bad, but now all of a sudden they're being torn apart. And yes, I think that makes a big difference because of the fact that it's the back line that's missing. I think Ange's also somebody, as I see him, who has like a real edge to him. And my critique for Spurs, unfortunately, is as I look at that team, how many players on the pitch match that sort of energy? For as good as Son is and as good as Son has been, Son's your captain. Does he sort of marry up with the sort of mentality that the manager has, especially when it's a dogfight? Like, is that Son? Is that Solanke? Is that certain players in the team? I'm not 100% sure. And at this moment in time, I've got to say as well, bigger picture-wise, the signings that they made in the summer, like Solanke's got good potential, even though he's like 27. But you're bringing in like a Bergvall, you're bringing in an Archie Gray, and these are players who are 18, 19 years of age, who you wouldn't expect to be playing so much at this point in the season, players who you'd want to be able to bed in comfortably whenever you can. But now Archie Gray's playing centre-back for the first time in his career in the Premier League for a team that's struggling defensively. This is a tough situation for them to be in. And I think for Ange, he knows he needs those players back. But as he looks on the field as well, he sees players that are bang out of form, and trying to find a solution for people who are lacking in confidence is very, very tough. So many people believe Son was going to miss that penalty today. Like, why is that? Well, it's because of what we've seen to this point. I think they're in a very, very tough situation, and they have been good. But unfortunately, I think I'm probably with Craig in thinking that it feels like something's going to change soon. And when it gets like that, more often than not, it's the manager.
Nathan will be back with us, as always, on Extra Time to answer some of your questions. You can, of course, check that out over on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to go there and subscribe as well.